Can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Meredith, you're muted.
Oh, I will start. I second, I clicked the middle button rather than the top one. Okay, I'm going to start again here. Hi, I'm Meredith, and I'm with the Brahma Kumaris Miami Facebook Center. And I'm very happy to be here tonight because I think this is, it's just such an important topic. And I've had the feeling that sometimes it's just something, oh, it's another day, like all of these special days. But this International Day of Peace, where people are really together all over the world, those that are thinking about it, or maybe you just had a thought, like a little thought when you read about it or saw something on television, but that would have affected you. And I think that as we get more affected personally and we begin to see how urgent this whole idea of peace is in the world, I think we all begin to realize that we can play a part in making some change. And so again, it is the International Day of Peace today, and we have some wonderful guests. And our guests, the people that I'm going to get to interview, they're all doing something in their own way. It isn't like they're just on the outside, just going out and maybe doing something for peace, but it's connected to peace. And I think that's the point tonight. It's all about the consciousness of peace, creating a consciousness, a way of being, a way of thinking about peace. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be marching somewhere, though that's good for peace in the world, because certainly we need the marchers as well. And so right now I want to hand it over to Kathy Shea. Kathy is, she is an activist, Dr. Kathy Shea. She's a longtime activist for women's rights and the rights of
Meredith, you're muted.
muted.
You're muted again. And I didn't do that.
No, I didn't touch any, it's not muted, it's on. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I hadn't touched anything, so.
Yeah, somebody muted you. I don't know how they did that.
Somebody, okay, out there. Okay.
didn't-
All right,
who's
guilty
doing that?
party, show yourself.
Okay, let's see how peaceful I can be, right? If I keep getting muted. Okay, so Kathy has been for many years now a very special part of the Brahma Kumaris Meditation Center as a teacher, as someone that just makes things happen and gets things done. And I'm going to turn it over to her right now to tell us a little bit about this Day of Peace and how important it is, whether we realize it or not.
Thank you, Meredith. And I'm very excited to be here on this day. The International Day of Peace is very special to me and also to the Brahma Kumaris. So Meredith gave me 2 minutes or so to tell you a little bit about the International Day of Peace and also the Brahma Kumaris' role at the United Nations. And I also see that our UN representative to the Brahma Kumaris representative to the United Nations is among the participants tonight. So, Peace Day was officially established by the UN General Assembly back in 1981. It was established as a day dedicated to peace and nonviolence, and originally it was designed, the UN requested a global ceasefire. It certainly evolved since then and has spread all around the world, and the Brahma Kumaris have had a particular role as a non-governmental organization affiliated with the United Nations. I'm going to mention just a few of their credentials and a couple of the global projects, and then I want to show you something that I found very, very interesting connected to tonight's program. As a non-governmental organization, they have, and I have to read some of this because it's general consultative status with the Economic and Social Council at the UN. It's ECOSOC. They have associate status with the Department of Public Information at the UN, consultative status with the UN Children's Fund, otherwise known as UNICEF, observer status to the UN Environment Assembly of UNEP, and observer organization to the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, a hugely important organization. And they are a flagship member for Education for Rural People, the Food and Agricultural Organization. They've also received, I should say, we've also received many recognitions as a peace messenger organization. And actually, the instigator of many of our global projects is with us tonight, but I'll mention just a couple. The Million Minutes of Peace Appeal that was held in conjunction with the International Year of Peace in 1986. Global Cooperation for a Better World, a Peace Messenger initiative. Sharing Our Values for a Better World, a program to honor the UN's 50th anniversary, something that I've participated in for a long time. Living Values, originally an educational initiative, it now operates as its own independent organization on every continent. And finally, they've participated in the International Decade for a Culture of Peace. So you can see there's been a long history with the UN, and Gayatri Narain, who's our representative to the UN, I don't know if we can get her to wave and say hi, at least. If not now, then a little bit later.
I can say hi, but I don't think I'll wave, Kathy. So I'm just saying happy Peace Day to everyone. And I'm really looking forward to what's going to happen this evening.
Great. Thank you, Gayatri. She is the fire behind a lot of our initiatives, so it's a special honor to have you on tonight. I want to show you a picture. If some of you have had the pleasure, the privilege of visiting the United Nations Security Council, this is the chambers of the Security Council. And I wanted, because we have an artist tonight, call your attention to the mural, the painting on the wall there. It's a very special mural that was painted by a Norwegian artist by the name of Per, and I'm not sure if I'm saying his name right, Crow or Krog, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it correctly. But it is a picture of a better world. And it is the inspiration for the UN Security Council. And let me just call your attention to a couple things. In the lower right-hand corner, you can see the images of sorrow. You can see how dark it is at the bottom. And mindful that this painting was painted in the aftermath of World War II. And you can see how dark it is. He was coming out of a dark time. And these images of sorrow and pain. And the image in the center, the phoenix rising. And you can see the family at the top there, at the center of a better world. You might notice too, all the trees and how light it is right at the top of the picture, symbolizing a world in harmony, a world where the environment is part of a healthy and sustainable world. So there's plenty of stuff in here if you really wanted to have a lovely meditation just around that picture. But it is the inspiration for the UN, and it is the vision of the UN Security Council. So I just wanted to share that with you all tonight. And if you ever do get a chance to go to the Security Council, have a look. So Meredith, thank you very much for giving me a couple minutes, and now back to you.
I was going to say you could even have a few more. That's so interesting, Kathy. That really is. And I it's interesting to me also that you mentioned it, because when I first started meditating with the Brahma Kumaris, I had just sort of appeared at the center in Miami. And it was, I guess, about a year later, and this is 36 years ago, a year later, Veronica, whom you'll be seeing tonight, many of you know her, who is our coordinator of the center, she said to me, we're going to be doing something for peace, Million Minutes for Peace, which is what you were just talking about. She says, can you come up with something, do something? There weren't many people at the center, so she was asking me. There were only a few to ask at the time. It was so new. And to me, I was like, what can we do? What can we do for peace? And the idea was for people to donate peace all over the world, whether it was praying for peace, meditating for peace, doing art for peace. I had no idea what to do. It was like, I don't know, I have no idea what to do. And all of a sudden, you know how it is, you have a good thought and you think, what can I do? And I mentioned some of this a couple of weeks ago when I was interviewing Michael Stock from WLRN, whom I worked with I worked in the TV and the radio. He worked in the radio for many years. And I went to him and said, Michael, can you play? Can you do something, for the Year of Peace? And I said, can you play one song for peace? And what Michael Stock said was, I will play peace songs, because he has the folk music station on WLRN, the NPR station. He says, I'm going to do that for 3 hours. And he did that. And I was just, I just couldn't believe it, that when you give people an opportunity, when you just say to somebody, they come up with the most amazing things, and they do want to help. People out there do want to bring peace to the world or bring goodness to the world. And so, speaking of people that do a lot of good in the world, I'm very happy to be able to be here tonight to first get to interview somebody who's been very, very special in my life, had a very big impact, many years ago, but over 20 years ago. Judy Rogers is one of the founders of the Peace Studio. And right now, an amazing summit is going on. It's ending tonight, later on tonight. You actually could have a chance maybe later to watch the finale. But Judy had an idea to bring people together and think about what they could do, people in media, what they could do for the world, and to kind of bring change to the world. And again, that was one of those things like, what are we going to do? And Judy kept holding meetings and people gathering together. She came to Miami, and some amazing things happened. They happened all over the country and all over the world. And that was the beginning of something very, very special, Images and Voices of Hope, which now is the Peace Studio, because they merged in the last couple of years. So Judy's going to be telling us a bit about it, as well as how she brings peace and this whole feeling of peace into her own life, because she is a meditator and on the path, a spiritual path. And again, she's, I said it once before, she is truly a visionary thinker. And I don't say that too often, because I think most people can think with visions, but they're not necessarily thinking ahead of everybody else. Judy is. Judy, welcome.
Thank you, Meredith. I could be interviewing you. We could just flip the tables right here, and I could ask you about your lifetime of work to make the media a more elevated place. But I'm happy to talk about the work we did together and about what's going on. I was struck when you were talking earlier about what do you do when someone says the world needs peace? It feels like we don't know where to start. What would we do that was meaningful? And like Meredith, I worked in media for a lot of years, and I felt with others, there were a group of us who worked together back in the 90s, felt that the media actually was unintentionally working against peace. They didn't mean to be working against peace. They just meant to be telling the stories of the world. But because of the habit of the media to focus on anomalies, on surprising things, on things that are disruptions, it turned out that they were just focusing, telling us one after the other, upsetting events, which was moving into our minds and moving into our hearts and at our breakfast tables and into our classrooms and onto the street. And so those of us who began to talk about this felt that we could try to move the needle on this. So when we started, we asked one question. We had about 200 media people in Manhattan, and we asked one question, which was, what is the impact of public image making and public storytelling on the world? And we talked in a very heated way for hours and hours about that, because it's a sensitive point if you're in media, right? Fast forward to 2019, and there was a brand new organization called the Peace Studio. Similar idea, but it was very focused on the arts. The executive director is a young man from Juilliard School of Music, and the people on the board are people from Hollywood and people in marketing of various sorts, and they're in the same question. What can media and the arts do to shift the public conversation, to change public experience so that we're not always watching and listening to terrifying things, and so that we can keep ourselves in a place where we are at peace? You know, there's a lot of research that says that when we are at peace and when we're happy and contented and joyful and grateful and all that, we actually have more capacity.
Mm.
I mean, we're smarter, we're more creative, we reach out to people, etc. Whereas when we're terrified or sad, we actually shrink. So it's not just that it would be nice to feel good, it's that for us to have capacity to respond to trauma, to help people who are struggling, whether it's Haiti or Afghanistan or our own city blocks, we have to be able to locate ourselves in peace. So whether you're working at an organizational level or whether you're working in the arts, like I know Raimundo is, and I think Pamela as well, we work from wherever we are with the idea that we would like to help our communities, our families, our society not live in fear, not be afraid, whether it's COVID or whether it's whatever they're facing. Because if they can move to a place of peace and joy, then they have the capacity to do something in the world. So that's the basic idea of what we're up to, right, Meredith?
Well, it's quite transformative, I have to say, because you meet people, and I can remember we've had conversations at summits, and even now when I talk to people, there are people that they just feel, oh, that's impossible. The world is dismal. The world is so bad. But once they participate or they even listen to this idea or they watch a program that like the summit or different programs that are, I think we would call them life affirming and energizing and really just making you think in a different way, what happens to people, and I've noticed it so many times, they shift. Something happens to them. They can walk in. I remember once we had one of the summits in upstate New York, and a New York Times writer came in and he was like, I don't know why I'm here, kind of thing. And by the end of just everyone getting together and thinking about these things and hearing about that there are things that we can all do. And a lot has to do with really what we're watching all the time, what we're listening to, right? I mean, it does affect, as you're saying, it affects not just our thoughts, but our whole body, where we start to get hopeless. So would you say the work is really about giving hope to people? Giving people a feeling that, yes, they can be part of something greater, something much bigger. And you really, again, really feel good when you start to get into that zone, don't you?
Well, I would say it a little bit different. I think that we're saying the same thing, but I would say that I think people need to feel hope from inside. I'm not sure we can give them hope. We show them things that are inspiring, but it's got to be that some light gets lit in their hearts and in our hearts. Every act we do in the world, every story we write, every conversation we have starts with a thought in the mind. And if the mind is filled with anxiety or fear, sorrow, anger, etc., what comes out of the mind can only have that quality. I mean, if I'm distressed inside, I'm not going to create conversations of peace at the breakfast table or in my classroom or wherever. It just won't happen, right? I've got to be able to locate myself in peace. So one thing that Meredith and I share, and I'm going to guess that all of you on this Zoom meeting tonight share, or else I don't think you'd be here, is some interest in the inner life. You may not be a daily meditator, but you have some interest in the inner life, or I don't think you'd spend your Tuesday night on this particular Zoom call. You'd be somewhere else, the bowling alley, or I don't know where you'd be. So why are you here? Why do we do this? Why are we interested in the inner life? And I think what we're aware of on some level is that when we are too attached and absorbed in the world outside, you know, when we can't stop looking at our phones or reading the headlines or whatever, then we kind of lose our access to our own peace and hope. But because we are by nature peaceful beings, when we develop the skill to turn inside, look at the mind, and see what's going on with the mind. Is it racing? Is it restless? And learn how to bring it to a still place and to invoke peace. And look in our hearts. Are our hearts filled with blame or guilt or whatever? If they are, then we're not going to be at peace. So I think our work in the world has got to start with our work inside. You know, and this is why you're somehow affiliated with the Brahma Kumari Center in Miami, so you're somehow affiliated with Meredith and with this group, because you understand this inner world is creating your outer world.
It's, to me, an amazing thing because it takes away this feeling of that I can't do anything, that I can't play a part. As soon as I began to learn that I can do something, even if it was a tiny little thing, you know, something so small, that just by talking to a person about peace and about going into silence, suddenly that would shift, rather than talking to them about the latest movie or what restaurant they went to. Because when you think about it, you find that most people, or not that they want to be, they're just, it's changed, I think, because of COVID, but people are often just, their talk is often, and I think we're all probably guilty of it in some way, you know, I'm not saying it's them and us or something, but is kind of more about the mundane, and it's not about going deeper. And what I have found is what you're talking about, you know, and what you have found too, is, like you said, giving yourself that space and that time. You know, some people say, yeah, I meditate, but I only meditate once in a while. You know, it's so hard to fit it in. I've heard that. But it's, would you say it's important to create some time in your life, not just here and there, or when you have a spare moment, that you have to, like anything else that you're committed to, whether it's exercise, in order to succeed at it and be in some kind of shape, you have to put in the time.
Well, I think it's like, so we never know when we're going to get that phone call. You know, it's your kid who's just had a very bad or scary thing happen, or it's your doctor who's just gotten your test results back, or it's whatever, right? We can't plan that. We don't know when that's going to happen. If that's the moment we start meditating, then the chances of our being able to quiet ourselves are really small, right? Because we're worked up. But if every morning I sit and I tell my mind, okay, come sit down with me, you know, quiet down. Let's move into a space of silence or peace or joy or contentment or gratitude or whatever. And I do it without fail every morning. It's not so much how long I do it. It's not that I sit there for 45 minutes, but every day, 10 minutes even, I sit and do that. Then the moment I need the mind to quiet so I can move into action, it will go there. Because every morning I've been asking it to do that. So now when I say to it, okay, come, quiet down, it'll go, okay, and it'll do that. I have several stories about this, but that's for another time when we have more time together. Maybe when you're here in the Catskills with me.
I'll come visit again as soon as
Right.
possible. It does take, as you're saying, it takes intention though. It takes something where you have to say, yes, I need this in my life. Like I need food, you know, I need oxygen. I think that meditation or reflection or whatever, you know, you want to call it, you have to say, okay, I'm going to let go of some other things in my life. You know, I'm going to let go of sitting and watching Netflix all night or, you know, whatever the things people get caught up in. Maybe not so much anymore because they don't have as many activities to run around, you know, for people have quieted down. And I wonder, is that what it's all about? This almost like we've all had to stop and slow down in our lives. But it does take, for me personally, I mean, it really took seeing that it made a difference in my life. That's when I changed. At the beginning, it didn't seem to, I would feel good. I would go to the center, then I would show up again for a while. And but when I began to see that when I would, well, I've shared this before, I think, with when I would go on television because I had a show at the time and suddenly feel so relaxed and so peaceful, not stressed out with all that was going on in the studio, because I had meditated before I went in the room, in the makeup room, and I meditated that morning, I felt different. Well, what happens when you feel good about something? You want more, right, Judy? I mean, you want more in your life. So what would you suggest people do to really kind of make this a way of life? And I know, yes, some people are on and it is a way of life, but I'm pretty sure not everyone, you know,
Well,
they do.
I think you have to make it a really nice experience. You know, I mean, you can't be suffering. We don't want to suffer. So I think you have to pick a place in your house that's really nice. I think maybe you make yourself a little half inch of coffee or a little cup of tea or something to get you going. Maybe you light a candle or you put a little music on, you read something inspirational because you're romancing yourself a little bit. You know, you're saying to yourself, let's come sit. You're saying to your mind, let's sit together. So you make it different every day. You don't do the exact same thing every day, right? You create something special about it. If you've got something that you've got to figure out, something with a child, something with work, something with a parent, etc., the night before you go to sleep, you can plant that seed in your mind. I really want to wake up tomorrow and get a sense of clarity around this. And then you go to sleep. And then when you get up and you do your little ritual, whatever it is, your cup of tea, your candle, whatever, your music, now you're sitting and you're now asking your mind to bring forward the clarity that you were looking for. Now everybody's got a different practice, right? Some are about God, some are about the self, some are about nature, etc. But when you get attuned to the inner being, to the inner self, the soul will respond to you when you say, I need clarity on this. And then you just listen. You just hold and listen. Some people journal, but you know, you've got to experiment a little bit because you've got to make it work for you. It's got to be a personal thing, but then you really want to be there. Then you don't have to force yourself because it's the sweetest time of the day, the time you made for yourself, right?
It's absolutely a beautiful time of the day. And it's really good, as you're saying, to do it early in the morning or maybe before you go to sleep and to keep it regular, to really keep it regular. And I love what you said about if you have a problem or you need clarity. What I have found is that often if I'm going through something and should I do this, should I do that, that when I just sit there in meditation, as you're saying, or and sometimes I'll even ask myself, what do I do about this? And not keep dwelling on it in meditation, but I'll try to like open myself up and share what it is I'm going through. This is bothering me. I'm afraid of this. This is worrying me. You know, what's going to happen to me on the plane going, you know, and as you were saying, the next day, it's just, you have the clarity, but it's almost like things work out. That's the amazing thing to me. Things just have this way of working out. And it's a peaceful existence, isn't it? We're talking about peace and creating a consciousness of peace. And do you think in a sense that only through an inward journey that you really, it's not out there. It really isn't, is it?
You know, especially in this particular time. I know I've heard people say, well, there's always been bad stuff going on. Yes, that's true. There always has been.
Right.
But this is a hard time. There's a lot happening, you know, I mean, just like climate change. I mean, some of these things are like gigantic. If you don't have a practice and you're just out there trying to deal with all the incoming, I don't know how we manage. I
Mhm.
honestly don't know how you manage if you don't have some way to go inside and stabilize yourself in your own virtue or strength. You know, it's what the psychologists call positive emotions: joy, contentment, awe, gratitude, happiness, compassion, kindness, all of that. These are intrinsic in us, and we can locate ourselves in those. And if we keep going back to that, then we can manage what's coming in. But if we don't, if we're just out there absorbed in what's happening, I think the heaviness and the sorrow becomes more than we can bear. You know, there's a lot of heartbreak right now, not only for us, even if we're managing. Often I find the people we love aren't managing, right? I hear so many stories about how someone that we love is struggling, and maybe losing the battle. And so that can break our hearts as much as anything going on for us. So we keep ourselves strong so that we can serve and support the other. And you know, you were saying, Meredith, you know, that we can talk with people and help them in that way. I think it's even about holding a certain quality of thought and sitting next to someone, because
Mm.
every thought has a vibration.
Mm.
You know, sometimes, for example, when someone's in grief, sometimes there's nothing to say. Their loss is too big. You know, there's nothing I can say that's going to comfort them. But if I'm sitting with them and I'm just holding the thought of peace and the kind of humanitarian love for them, that may be enough. I mean, it's not going to take what happened away, but they're not alone. They feel our love and our comfort. And so it's even before we open our mouth and do anything, you know, it's the quality of the thought I hold. You named to this program the consciousness. The consciousness I hold has a vibrational field. And so just that, and that's all I'm doing in my morning practice. I'm resetting my consciousness. So the first person I meet, everyone I encounter, I'm meeting them from that place.
Beautifully said, as always, Judy. Just to sit and listen to you and think about these things and realize that we can help, you know, bring about peace to the world. And I just think the more people get involved in all of these things to do with reflection and meditation and thinking about that they can be part of the change and that they can help, even if it's teeny tiny, they're making a difference. They're doing something in the world. I wanted to just, before we close, and I could talk with you for another hour. I know that, Judy, but I had the opportunity to listen to these Nobel Peace Prize winners the other day who were speaking, 3 of them. And what they were saying was that they believe that change happens with people just little by little by little. Everybody saying to themselves, I can do something. And they said, it doesn't have to be anything big. Just say, what is it I can do to bring peace to the world? And one of them, and I didn't know that much about her, she said she began as a volunteer. She said she never ever even dreamed that she would become a Nobel Peace Prize winner. I mean, awardee, she said that she began as a volunteer because she was trying to get landmines, banned. And she was so active, and then eventually she was the one that I guess kind of took the lead, and it all happened with the help of her, but with her as the leader. So she said, if I can do it, she was cute. I don't know if you watched her, but she goes, if I can do, you all can create change in the world. And so I want to leave you on that note. And thank you, Judy, as always, for being someone with a vision, but not just you're the one with the vision. We don't have the vision. You always see us and make us feel that we too can make a difference, and that we can have that vision to create change in the world. And I really appreciate that. So thank you, Judy. Thank you for joining us tonight. And so now we are about to meet two people. Judy lives, by the way, in New York. I think she mentioned that. She actually lives in an area of peace with many people meditating in New York, upstate New York. So but our next guests right now are two South Florida people who, to me, are really doing something in their own way. Again, it's all about what is it that can you do? What is it that we can do alone with a thought, and then it all happens together. So I want you to meet first Pamela. Pema, she says that she likes to be called Pema, right? Pema Reed, who is spreading the message of peace and harmony through her work. And she has something called Dream Catchers for the Soul Foundation. Do I need to say anything more? You know it's going to be special, right? Dream catchers, catching people's dreams. And whose dreams do you think she's catching and helping them along with? Children that she realized there was a need to bring holistic healing and healthy eating and all kinds of things, consciousness, greater consciousness into their lives. And she started this 8 years ago, and she's going strong. So I'm really delighted to be able to meet her and to meet her in person. We've been having some phone calls. And I think what I will do is I was going to interview the two of them together, but I think we will wait, and you'll get to meet someone else who's quite special in a few minutes, okay, after this. And so we're going to talk for a few minutes, and then we'll get to speak with him, because they have the same message, but they approach it differently. So Pamela, first of all, how did you get this idea? How did you get the idea that there are kids out there and they're just not getting it? They're not getting these holistic classes. Nobody's taking them to yoga or, putting them on some healthy eating program or telling them, Om Shanti, be peaceful. They weren't getting it, right? And you saw that these were the kids in South Florida that needed it. So what did you do?
Well, it started in meditation. The idea came to me by sitting at the Universal Truth Center and just being in meditation, praying for the congregation, praying for the ministers. And then Holy Spirit said, this is what you're going to do. And we've been around for 11 years, not 8. So we've been, yes, we've been offering mindfulness, meditation, yoga, Tai Chi, Qigong, and Reiki to children from 5 to 18. And we recently received an awesome grant to take a mobile labyrinth out into the community. So we're taking that to hospitals to help frontliners with compassion fatigue. We're taking it out to schools and senior centers. And all summer long, we took the labyrinth out to summer schools. So we are changing the fabric of universal consciousness with just one breath.
I don't even know what to say to that, because it's just such a powerful, your whole way of being, that you are able to do something. And I wanted to maybe just start with the kids, because, like I said, they're not getting this in most places. And they might even, some of them might be neglected even in some way, because the parents are working so hard. Parents are struggling today, it's just a difficult world. And we know this, it's always been difficult for quite a few people. But I was just wondering, what happens when you suddenly expose a child to, what did you say, age 8? From 8 on?
5 to 18.
Yeah. So what happens when you do bring them to like a Tai Chi class? Now you have different classes for different groups. Is that how you do it? It seems like
Right.
you got a lot going on. Yeah, really. So are they open? Are kids more open maybe than adults?
Not really.
No.
They'll look at me and like, what is this? What are we doing here? But one thing that comes to mind, an event that came to mind to me just now is a little girl. She must have been about 14 years old, and she was a cutter. And both her parents were incarcerated. So she was never exposed to her parents. She went from foster home to foster home to foster home. And one of the things that we always do before we end a session is to have them walk away saying, I love myself. They put their hand on their heart and they say, I love myself. Well, this young girl, she's never heard anyone say to her, I love you, much less I love myself to herself. And at the end of the session, she walked over to me and she gave me a great big hug. And she said, thank you. Thank you so much. Look at my arms. I've been cutting.
Oh, yeah.
But I promise you, Miss Pam, I will never, ever cut myself. Thank you for telling me to tell myself I love myself.
It's an amazing story. So, I mean, I'm just wondering how, you know, once you created this kind of a change in someone, and I know you've taken a lot of classes, you've studied a lot of this. I mean, you're not a psychologist, but you have studied a lot, you know, to holistic healing, which is very important, you know. So I was just wondering, I personally think that one encounter like that, as Judy was talking about, just holding somebody's hand and being with them, can actually change somebody's life, right? I mean, that can just turn them around. One day she might say, there was one person that I met, and now I'm who I am. I've gone on to do things because that one person cared. So what I'm thinking is, do we all need to, we can't all be like you know, just committed to helping the children, but are there things that we can do for others, you know? That to me is what
we could take a candle and light it, and then take that candle and light someone else's candle, and then light someone else's candle. And before you know it, the whole room is illuminated with light and love and compassion. So what I do is I plant seeds of kindness. I plant seeds of compassion. I plant seeds of love. If we could just do that.
You are really following your bliss, aren't you?
Yes.
You are have really found your calling. And I'm sure people are out there thinking, God, I'd like to be like her. I'd like to be like her and help people. And they can. You know, I remember once calling a leader in our community, and I had asked him to do something on a Saturday, a program. And he said to me, I can't, I'm reading to a child every Saturday. I've committed myself to reading. And he's a very busy man, you know? And I went, he is really doing what he's talking about out there in the world. And so it might sound like something little, but the fact that every single week he takes his Saturday off, so everybody maybe can't start a whole foundation like you did, but do you feel that there's something that everybody can do, and maybe it requires a little reflection and thinking about, how can I help?
Breathe.
Yeah.
That is so important, to just breathe. I mean, we breathe 20,000 times a day, and we breathe incorrectly. We breathe with our shoulders, we breathe with, you know, our forehead, just to take that breath, you know, just to come, like she said, we have to all realize that peace begins with us. It's not outside of ourselves. It begins with you and me and everybody else on this call. It begins with us.
I wish everybody out there could listen to you, because I'm mesmerized, not just by what you're saying and your voice and your commitment to this, because I'm sure you encounter parents that, you know, come with their children and they're burnt, you know. I mean, they have been through so much, not everybody, but what do you say to parents that say, you know, I'm going through this, I'm going through that, you know, what do I do? How do you help the parents? Because they need the help too.
Meditate with your child. I got a call yesterday from a parent And she said that my daughter saw that I was stressed and said, come on, Ma, let's go meditate. Let's take that time out. So if every parent is taught to take that time out and just breathe with their child, what a wonderful world. What a wonderful
Yeah.
world.
So here we are talking about the International Day of Peace, and you were all examples of bringing peace to the world, bringing peace, you know, it's just something that you can almost hold it, can't you? Hold this feeling of peace and never, ever say, there's nothing I can do. I once knew a businessman years ago, and I was telling him about something I was involved in. He goes, you know, I don't think there's anything I can do to help the world, really. You know, he goes, the world is so bad. And, you know, he didn't say exactly, well, I'm just going to enjoy myself and live my life with my family and kids, but that's kind of what he meant. He says he didn't think he could make a difference. And I remember feeling, don't feel that way. Never, ever, ever feel like that, right? That wherever we are, whatever we're doing, and I'm sure that you are inspiring many people to feel that. Pema, you're amazing. And I think that I'm run over my time here, and I could talk with you all day, but it'll be continued. We will have to continue with you. Okay. Thank you so much. We did have some pictures. Maybe if we can end on those pictures of Pema and some of the wonderful children that she works with. Yeah. That's you, right? Yeah. Look at this. This is beautiful.
That's Yvonne
Yes.
with all our children meditating.
Uh,
This was from the Holistic magazine in Miami.
mm,
And this is our first meditation on the beach. So every Saturday, once a month, we used to take our children to the beach for meditation and yoga. And this is at our first Children of the Lotus retreat, where we bring parents and the children together to learn how to meditate. We taught them how to, you know, grow fresh vegetables at the Lotus. It's just a day to bring family together. And normally we have anywhere from 200, 150 to 200 children and their families come to this event.
look at that. And you could just see by the expressions on their faces that they're there. They are there with you. So we need more of you. We need more Pemas, right? So maybe your next part of your work can be maybe training others to do what
Yes.
you're doing and be like you and not give up. You know, that's what it's all about, is just not give up and say, there's nothing I can do, or what can I do? Because look, she's an example. And, you know,
So we're going to be,
tell me.
we're going to be training 20 young teens in our ambassador program in Broward County. And we're going to be teaching them mindfulness, yoga, Tai Chi, and Qigong, so they could spread it out into the community.
Look at
So
that.
these children are going to be ambassadors, and we want to eventually take it to Miami and Palm Beach and outside of Florida. So
Pema, I'm sure that you will. I'm absolutely sure that you will. And
you.
I wish you continued success. And you are definitely one who is bringing peace to South Florida. And again, we need it. We need it, but together, I really feel that change is happening. So thank you so much.
thank you.
And now, finally, you were wondering, right, Raimundo? I'm very happy to meet a very, well, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Oh, I can't hear you. So, okay. So Raimundo, can you speak now so we can make sure you're on? For some reason, you're muted and I don't know how to,
Is that
here you are, Raimundo,
it? Okay. good.
right?
Yes.
Well, we're going into a different direction, but what I'm seeing from tonight is it's all connected. You know, we hoped it would be, and I can see that it
Right.
really is.
Absolutely.
Also with me is Raimundo, who is a noted Miami artist, and but who doesn't see himself as an artist. From what I've read and talked to you, is that you see yourself more as a poet. And I love that idea. So I want to understand that. Well, I do want to also say some of the places that you have exhibited your work all over South Florida. I mean, I saw a page of work of, places you've exhibited. The Diaspora Vibe Gallery, good friends of ours, Rosie Gordon-Wallace, Edge Zones Contemporary Art, 801 Projects in Wynwood. And this was a while ago because you did go to school there, but it was Harvard University Catholic Student Center. I think you got your MBA there, right? At Harvard. The Tropical Audubon Society. I wanted to throw that in because that's not your typical art gallery, but many, many art galleries throughout South Florida. And so tell us a bit about what is it that happens to you when you're doing your art, creating art?
It's hard to say because I didn't set out to be an artist, It happened to me. The art came to me instead of me trying to be an artist. So as I have always said and realized, I get the ideas, the drawings, the ideas come to my head, and I feel I have to put them on paper and share them afterwards. So it's like a lot like writing poetry because I do it in a small format, a pencil and a piece of paper, a small piece of paper, that's all. And I have been doing this for all my life, and I think I have now probably hundreds of thousands of drawings, and I cannot help it. It's something that happens to me. And then I select some of them to make prints and to make different multiples, we call them in contemporary art. And that's what I exhibit, what I show. But at the same time, I must say, because if not, I will not be honest. I am very religious. I am Catholic. And in my Catholic tradition, of course, there's how can I say, a lot of the same ideas that I have been listening tonight and that we all share. And right now I was looking for something because it was exactly what Pamela was saying, I think, it says, this is from Thea Bowman. Thea Bowman is a name that wasn't familiar to me until recently. She's a person who will be, I hope and I believe, very famous in a few years. Look her up, Thea Bowman, and you'll see why. And she says, sometimes people think they have to do big things in order to make change. But if each one would light a candle, we will have a tremendous light. And this is, of course, what we all agree on, right? And I do it by my drawings, and other people do it in other ways, But I guess in my drawings is expressed, my beliefs, my feelings, the way I understand life, and I understand, our purpose in life. And so the drawings happen. They happen, but they come, of course, from this Catholicism. I cannot call it any other way. And of course, my Catholicism is also a progressive Catholicism, a lot like in the tradition of Thomas Merton, Sister Corita Kent, Thea Bowman, again, and Pope Francis, who I believe Pope Francis is the most wonderful thing we have now alive in the world, and is another hero of mine that I would love to share with you, Look him up, Google him.
Well, these are great leaders that you're talking about. I have read some of Thomas Merton, not so much, but I've always really, really admired his work.
Right.
And so we're all talking the same language, aren't we? It doesn't matter. Spirituality is spirituality. I really
Exactly.
feel that it
And
doesn't
we
matter
share,
where you
we,
got it from, what you're reading, what religion. If it's truly spiritual, coming from the heart and coming from your inner self, that point of, as Judy was talking about, that point of silence within, I don't want to say it's all the same, it's different, but
but we all
it's,
share
yeah.
the one basic thing, love. And as Elie Wiesel, I think, is the one who said, the opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is indifference.
Mm.
So we have to worry about others, and if we cannot do much in a practical way, at least we can wish them well, and that's prayer. That's prayer. When you cannot do more, but you hope for the best for someone else, and I think we all share that. All religions, all philosophies, we all share that.
But what I'm really, really admiring in you is that you are not only, it's a way of life for you.
Oh,
And
yes.
your art and your spirituality and everything that you do is all connected. And that's, to me, what makes the difference, isn't it? It's not just saying, okay, I'm going to go to church, once a week, or, I mean, that's fine. That's good, if you do that.
Yeah.
But for you, it's kind of a way of life, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And it's my joy and my happiness for many, many, many years, and I have a loving family, and all of that is the same, it's all connected.
We're just about out of time, but I did want them to see some of your work. We have some of your work that we can take a look at. And can you maybe tell us what we're seeing now? It will be made into a tapestry, or is this the tapestry?
No, this one not yet. It's not a tapestry yet.
No.
But this one is of a series I made many years ago, but have been reworking now, that is about contemplation. The term contemplation, I guess, goes farther than meditation, and it's a contemplative prayer, or prayer of the heart, it's called too, and it's simply opening yourself to get this grace, we call it, and it's a gift of God, and it's something that is impossible to say in words, but that, like this drawing, is something that you feel. This is like a head, like a profile, and it's the way I feel, when I contemplate. I cannot explain it anymore, Maybe St. John of the Cross, St. Teresa of Avila can have expressed it better, but I can only express it in art, in drawing, in a visual way.
Well, it's always hard to explain your own spiritual experiences, isn't it? Now, this one, I love this one. I
say, some of us pray with our feet. God understands.
Look at that.
And this is the face of the moon. I call it mercy. And I think, the moon is like a symbol of God's mercy to us in this valley of tears. And every time I look at the moon, I pray, I contemplate, and that's a lot of what this drawing, it's hard for me to express in words all that I feel, so that's why I do it in drawings. Again, simple line drawings, like writing poetry, that is the way I can express all that I feel and think, and all of that, whatever.
It's obvious that you're very connected to your inner self, and it shows through your work. And I love that last one. And be sure to watch tonight, the Harvest Moon tonight. I got an email already today that this is a very special moon tonight. And I, like probably millions of other people, just love that full moon. Raimondo, it's just a pleasure to get to interview you.
Thank-
And I just love the way you're living your life as a, I want to say as a mystic, right? You know, someone that's just caught up in your work spiritually, and you're again, like kind of like Pema, you know, you're following your bliss. And I
Like-
hope everybody can find that in their lives. Yes?
Just try to light my little candle, and if all of us will do our own candle, you know, there will be a great light. Again,
Be a lot of light in the world. And
Yes.
again, never feel there's nothing you can do, right? And I know you will continue to do wonderful things. So thank you so much for being part of tonight. And now we're about to close, but before we do, we would like to hear some just some enlightening words from our very enlightened coordinator of the Brahma Kumaris Meditation Center, Veronica.
Thank you, Meredith. I wasn't expecting to be on this. I didn't know until you mentioned at the beginning, but that's fine. And so having listened to everyone, you know, again, it's like, however hackneyed it may sound, but some expressions come to mind. And of course, one that we're all familiar with is "Blessed are the peacemakers." And we go back to the Hopi Indians and how they always said that we are the ones that we've been waiting for. And so it's not just extolling those who we know were, you know, emblems of peace in history, but it's like, it's now our job that we're now carrying the flag, if you like. And something I saw, maybe it only went up today, I don't even know who wrote it, but the question, who will you make peace with? You know, and so I know I'm not at war with anyone. I know I don't have hatred or animosity with anyone. But I think, you know, when someone was speaking earlier on about the need for a practice of meditation, reflection, whatever it is, that it, I think it enlightens your conscience and your ability to discern. And I was thinking today as well how for all of us, there's like what we know, but then there's what I'm doing, that I don't always live up to what it is that I know. And I think this is where the practice helps, because it shines your conscience and your discernment. And so that even though you may not have be badly intentioned towards anyone or have any major problems, but you begin to see the small things. In other words, I don't hate you, but I'm really irritated with you. Or I have a bit of dislike, or I'm a little bit judgmental over here. And it's like there's this light that comes on and says, you know, that's not what you're supposed to be doing. That's not living up to what it is that you know. And so I think the onus then is on us. It's not about the war situations or the big things, but at a personal level to increase. It's about an incremental increase in your own stock, if you like, of peace, and what your willingness to do to maybe not say something, be quiet in a situation, or say something in a situation whereas before you may not have had the courage to. And so that theoretically you are doing it for yourself, but it's not by yourself, because others are also doing it. And together there is an increase. And so that really peace is not going to come from somewhere out there, but it really is creation, the fabric that's created by all of us, making that little daily commitment to be our better selves. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Thank you so much for being here with us, Veronica. And I remember saying to you many years ago, well, are more people going to come? There was like hardly anybody at the center. It just started. That was 36 years ago. And you would say, they will come. They will come. You will see. And I would, really?
Yeah.
Are people going to get into meditation? I didn't know anyone
Yeah.
meditating at the time. And it's not just our center. I mean, it's meditation, spirituality, prayer. It's happening all over the world for people. People are awakening. And I take great comfort in that, knowing that I'm part of something bigger, you know, and wherever we go, we're going to really be connected, that everybody is our brother and our sister. And we just have to keep trying. As Veronica said, you know, we all have our little defects, you know, our irritations, our anger, but okay, what can I change today? And we were going to try to end on everybody coming on together, but I'm not sure if everybody left. I don't know who's on. Only, okay, Judy's with us. Okay, Kathy. So whatever, we're going to just end. And then we were going to say goodbye to you after this. And thank you all out there. Oh, okay, good. Is Pema, did she leave? Oh, everybody's here. Yay. Okay. Nita, who is our wonderful director, and Tej, that direct all of these Zoom programs that we do at the Meditation Center, or at least most of them. They're pretty busy because we're doing a lot of programs. I think they want to just take one screenshot that we can use. So are we good, Nita or Tej? I think they'll tell us when.
Yes.
Oh, here she is.
Done.
Beautiful. And thank you for just all of you for being here with just such love. I don't know, I'm just feeling very, very good after getting to be in the company of you all. You know, I just feel really like, I felt good before, but it's like, there was a word called gooder. Better, of course. You know, just good. I'm feeling really so hopeful. And it's just beautiful, you know, when you just start to meet people along the way, and we're all doing different things, but we all have the same hope in our heart to help and to give and to become more loving and peaceful. And I think that's about it, right? That's what we all want. So thank you. What we're going to do is maybe end on some meditation. Maybe we'll just cut the meditation, whatever our directors think. We have some beautiful meditation, just some beautiful nature scenes. It's very beautiful. So you can just join us for some meditation for the next few minutes. Thank you, everybody, for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.